Hello, my name is Gilberta Green, and I'm a student here at GSW as well as a Pope Fellow. It is my privilege to introduce our next speakers, Tina Thomas and Sarah Flassful. Tina Thomas is a native of Michigan. She has lived in Williamsburg, Virginia since 2010. Tina holds a Bachelor's of Science in Healthcare Administration and a Master's of Science in Hospice and Palliative Studies. She also holds certifications in gerontology, addiction specialist, pastoral care, nursing home administration, Alzheimer's disease, and dementia care. Tina is the Director of Programs and Services for the Greater Richmond chapter of Alzheimer's Association. Prior to joining the Alzheimer's Association, Tina worked as a home health and hospice administrator and a dementia education specialist. Tina is a licensed elder and board certified chaplain who enjoys spending time at the beach with her husband and 3 grandchildren. Sarah S. Flassful, is a native of Savannah with 39 years of professional experience within the local community. She has a Doctor of Public Health with concentration in community health behavior and education from Georgia Southern University, is a certified health education specialist, and a 2016 Governor's Teaching Fellow. She worked at Memorial Health University Medical Center for 18 years, serving most of that time as the Research Ethics Officer responsible for managing oversight of human subject protection in 250-plus clinical trials. After earning her doctorate in 2010, she joined the Armstrong faculty full-time and currently holds the rank of Associate Professor with tenure. She currently serves as the interim chair for the Department of Health Sciences and Kinesiology for Georgia Southern University. Within the local Savannah community, she is an appointed member of the Chatham County Board of Health. Dr. Flassful, currently serves as chair for the Flux Nourishment Board of Directors and is passionate about healthy nutrition and plant-based diets to promote quality of life. Welcome, Tina and Sarah.
Can you hear me all right? Wow, well, thank you so very much for this great opportunity. I want to thank Mrs. Carter and the entire team for putting on an amazing program and for having us come in today all the way from Williamsburg, Virginia. So I am born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. I identify as living in Virginia, but I am a Michigander. So today we're going to be talking about the mind, body, and spirit. My dear esteemed colleague Sarah and I are going to be tag teaming, so I'm going to pass the mic to her as we move along, and then we'll take your questions on the back end. The presenters today have done such an amazing job that there's a little bit of overlap. So because I'm so conscientious of that, and I can see how smart this amazing group is, I've come up with a few extras that I'm going to give you just so that there's not too much overlap. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the program. So what is a healthy mind? So when you think about that, because we're going to be talking first about the mind as it relates to the mind, body, and spirit for caregivers. So what would you think if one word could come to mind? What is a healthy mind? Clear. Clear, Active, yes. A loving mind. Oh, that's a beautiful one. Yes. Peaceful, yes. Yes. Oriented. All right. Let's take a look at what, do you have one?
I said alert mind.
An alert mind, yes. So let's take a look at a couple definitions that help us better ground what that is. So a healthy mind, the ability to think, explore, and grow. This is very important for caregivers, but also for care receivers. The ability to explore and to grow. We're going to expand upon that. A mind that is functional. Now, I'm a dementia education specialist. I work for the Alzheimer's Association. I've been supporting older adults now for 3 decades plus 3 years, so for 33 years. I've worked my entire career with older adults. That functional word is really a funky word, and people have difficulties with that. So as a hospice administrator, I would say to my staff, they could never say to me, Mrs. Jones is dying. What they could say to me is Mrs. Jones' health was declining, because as long as Mrs. Jones was alive, she was still functional to some degree and needed support all along the journey. So a mind that maintains social connectiveness. Staying connected, very important for a healthy mind. A sense of purpose. Having a sense of purpose, very, very important. And number 5, maintaining a sense of self. This is really critical for caregivers. Because caregiving can happen very spontaneous, most folks don't plan to become caregivers, that sense of self is something that is often lost. So let's do an activity together. Now, to do this activity, you're going to need a partner. So each person connect with at least one person that's next to you. Now, you want to be close enough to your partner so you can look at them eyeball to eyeball. So each of you get one partner. Yeah, not 2 partners, you just need one. Now, what I want you to do with your partner, I know this is an academic environment, but I'm going to give you some instructions. So what I want you to do with your partner is I want you to talk about yourself just for a minute and a half. Now, while one person is talking, the other person is listening. This is not open back and forth dialogue. So one's listening, one person's talking. So the first thing you have to identify with is who's going to talk first and then who's going to listen. And then I'll tell you when to stop, and then you're going to switch, and the talker will become the speaker, and the speaker will become the listener. Now, here's some ground rules. As you're talking about yourself, you cannot talk about your children. And you cannot talk about your work. And you cannot talk about your partner. So don't talk about your husband, don't talk about your children, don't talk about your work. I want you to talk about yourself. All right, you got the rules? And I'm keeping an ear out for cheaters. All right, are you ready? All right, go. Okay, let's come back together. Whoa, lots of energy in this room. All right, let's come back together. Are you ready? All right, let me ask you a question. Who found that difficult? Oh, look at all those lovely hands. All right, keep your hands up. Okay, let me ask, what was difficult about that? She didn't know what else to talk about other than work. Yes. Oh, because she said she's in school, she's not married, and her work is RCI. She didn't have anything else going on. Now, as a caregiver, when I work with families, there are a couple things I always ask them. For caregivers, it is so important that you do not lose your sense of self. Who are you? And people will say to me, but Tina, I'm a mom. That's who I am. That's what I do. And I said, tell me about the you before you were a mom. There was a you before you were a wife, before you had your career, and before you were a parent. Tell me about that person. Because that's the things that nurture you. If ever that person gets ill or there's a critical illness, that's who we minister to. You do not minister to the here and now and what you see. It's those deep things that we can't pay for that give us a sense of happiness, the wind on our face. A book, a cup of coffee. What are the things that make you who you are? And if you are a caregiver or you're supporting someone who is a caregiver, you have to get them there. And when people cannot tell you about the things that make them happy and who they are, they're at risk for burnout. Tell me who you are, what makes you happy, what puts a smile on your face. It typically does not cost money. What are those things? Especially if the person has Alzheimer's disease or dementia. Because they're losing their memories in retrograde. So their ability to function and remember is going backwards. They may get nestled somewhere and thinking they're 13, 14, 15. Well, when I was 15, most of us when we were 15, we didn't have children. We didn't have our partner. We didn't have our job. What are the things that makes that person happy from way back there? Very important as a caregiver. Now, if you're a professional caregiver, what's very important as well is you want to help your families see life beyond the seat of a caregiver. I facilitate a lot of support groups, and I train support group facilitators. And I say, what are you doing to help your families see life beyond this chair, the caregiver seat, the caregiver circle? Because one day, they won't be a caregiver because their loved one may die. So are you helping that person find purpose? Maintaining a sense of purpose and a sense of who they are as an individual. Who am I? Absent my children, my work, and my partner. So this is a lovely handout. I think they're going to make all these available to you that just gives you some examples of what stress can do to your body, to your mind, to your behaviors, and to your emotions. It has a negative impact that can cause other comorbidities to show up. I'm going to give you 4 simple A's. They're going to sound familiar because you may have heard some of these that will help caregivers develop a coping mechanism. So the first thing before I tell you these A's, here's this lovely gift. This lovely gift that each of us have. We've all been given this gift. Now put both of your hands in front of you, that way. Each of us have 2 hands. One is for giving, the other for receiving. Some of us are really good at receiving, others are really good at giving. I'm a much better giver than I am a receiver, but I'm working on that. Now my daughter is a much better receiver than she is a giver. We're working on that. Very important for caregivers. You've got to be able to do both well to be a very effective caregiver. So the 4 A's, things that we need to do. 1, accept, oh my gosh, this is happening to us. It's in my house, it's happening. It shouldn't be, but it's happening. After I accept that this is happening, I need to take action. What am I going to do about it? I need to now do some action to make things doable, livable. Acknowledge what you cannot do. I respect anyone who says, I cannot care for this person. I've got to bring care into the home, or this is beyond my capacity. I don't want to do this. My husband and I have already decided, if my husband develops a critical disease, if he develops Alzheimer's disease, we'll have to bring care into the home. I don't want to provide that level of hands-on support for my husband. I'm not accustomed to seeing him in that capacity. I'd much rather be a wife and have somebody else come in and provide that level of care. So acknowledge what you cannot do. And then, here you go, allow others to do it. People will hire a nurse, but they won't let the nurse do her nursing job. So when you bring help in, let people help you. Very important. One-to-one support. One-to-one. It's me providing support and care to my husband, my partner. It works, but it's very stressful. It's detrimental. You could move to a one-to-many concept, meaning, all right, Tina can go to her church and get help, or I can let my daughter help me, my neighbor can help me, someone else can help me. We don't want to stay at a one-to-one process. You want to move to maybe a one-to-many, and what's most effective is a many-to-many. So I can go to one person who can go to 4 other people who can help me develop a very effective plan of care and support, especially if you're supporting someone who has a comorbidity that lasts a long time, like Alzheimer's disease. It is the one disease that I say to families, don't be a hero. You have to have support because people live with this disease a very long time. I say that from 30 years of experience, having been a hospice administrator, supporting people with life-limiting diseases. People with end-stage cancer, end-stage lung disease, end-stage HIV aren't living 20 years. But people are living a long time with Alzheimer's disease. Many to many. What can they do? I always have a plan in place. When I let other people come in to do some of those other tasks that you heard about, have Beth talking about, it gives me some time to do what? Nurture those things that make me happy. As a caregiver, when you're making a list, the number 1 list you need to make is, what are the things I need to maintain my sense of who I am? You should have a short list of the things you refuse to give up. you know, like getting our nails done, you know, or I have to get my hair done, or I have to keep no matter what happens, I have to have a housekeeper, or I have to go to the gym, or I have to do yoga, or I have to have a cup of coffee every day. What's your short list of things that you need for you to stay well? And then you deploy your many-to-many concept to let other people come in and do some of those things. So here's Tina's care team and what it looks like. I break my teams out very specifically. Who are the folks that I can call when I need a break? Who is my team that I can call when I need a task done? Where is my team? Who can I vent to? So let me ask you this. Who is your go-to person? I ask every caregiver that. Who's your go-to person? I say, you know, your go-to person. Everyone has to have one. Everyone has to have at least one person in their life that they can call anytime, day or night, and say anything, good, bad, or ugly. They talk us off the ledge, and tomorrow, they still respect us. And everyone needs one. Who is your go-to person? Sometimes you have to have several go-to people. Well, I have my good girlfriend. I can go to her for this. I can go to my husband for that. I can go to my sister for that. You have to have one if you're going to be a caregiver. Because there are going to be days when caregivers want to walk out the door and they don't want to come back. You develop your care plan and your care team before you need it. Very important. We want to thrive as caregivers. We don't just want to survive. We don't want to exist. I want to be in the moment. I want to continue to live beyond my role as a caregiver. Very, very important. I think that was it. Now I'm going to turn it over to my lovely colleague. Ta-da! And we'll take questions on the back end.
There we are. So good afternoon. Boy, I love the energy level in here, especially after lunch. I'm impressed with everybody. Whew. Mrs. Carter, it's a pleasure to be here speaking with you and this wonderful group. Elizabeth, Mary Margaret, thank you so much for all the hospitality and just the great organization for this conference. Tina, you're a hard act to follow. My part of this program, of this particular session, is to talk about the body, in the mind, body, and spirit, complete self-care. Is Beth still here, Beth Dow? Did she leave? She did a wonderful job this morning. I was taking notes as she was speaking when she talked about when you are doing things to maintain a healthy body, how we know to exercise, we know to eat right, we know to get plenty of sleep, and so I'm going to focus on just one aspect of that, and that is the nutrition piece of it, eating right. And so we're going to focus on self-care of the body, specifically looking at healthy nutrition. How many people in here, let me see a show of hands, feel like you have a really high-quality, nutritious diet? Okay. 2 or 3, that's great. So how many folks in here feel like that you could do better with your nutritional choices? Okay, all right. And I think that even for folks that have what we may think is just the perfect diet, if there is such a thing, I think you can always improve. So thank you for your honest disclosure. Everyone here in your packets should have a nice booklet that looks like this. I've seen folks looking at it, and a few people I've heard some comments already, so you should have this. And a lot of what I'm going to talk about in these next few minutes is found in this booklet, and a lot more. So I encourage you to check this out. I'm here to share a little bit of information that is really strongly supported by an organization in Savannah called Flux Nourishment. And Megan Jefferson, who is the founder of Flux, she is the one who actually has created this booklet. But the principles within this apply, it's not just unique to Flux at all. So I think she's done a good job of capturing it here. So this is what we're going to talk about. It really ties into the conference theme of empowerment. The mission of Flux is every person should have the right to choose a nourishing lifestyle. The most disadvantaged populations, let me advance this here, I'm getting ahead of myself. The most disadvantaged populations are consistently shown to be more susceptible to health risks associated with obesity. And there's no single reason, no single cause for obesity. It's very complex. Those of you that understand about all the contributors to health or to poor health know that there's not any single one factor that makes you healthy or not healthy. It's a combination of a lot of factors. So it's very complex. So there are many factors that come into play here. Did you know that disadvantaged families tend to make the following food choices? They tend to choose foods that have a high fat content, high sugar content, processed meat products. Why do you think these are the choices? Why do you think these are the foods that people might tend to select over healthier choices? Any idea? That's right. They're cheaper. They're more affordable. Anything else? Easier, quicker. So, anything else? Sure. So lack of access. Also, these foods last longer. Have you ever bought a package of hamburger buns or some type of bread product and you put it in your pantry and you look at it in a couple of weeks and it still looks exactly like it looked when you bought it and it's not moldy? Food products last longer, but they last longer because they have some ingredients in them that may not be the healthiest for us. Also, fast food, convenience food, we've talked about the issue of accessibility. Also, lack of transportation and cost. You may have a grocery store close by, but you may not be able to physically get there. And also economic insecurity. Economic insecurity can lead to stress. And so when we're stressed, what do? What's one habit that is very common for us to try to relieve that stress? We eat, exactly. So we eat by eating those high-fat, sugary foods. So all of these factors contribute to poor health and lower quality of life. So how can we help to alleviate the obstacles that are prevalent in vulnerable populations? And so for us in this audience, the vulnerable population we're talking about are the caregivers, okay? So what can we do to alleviate these obstacles? Well, wellness coaching is one approach. This can be helpful for all populations. Also, engagement in educational events. You don't have to leave your house for educational events. There's all kind of wonderful educational programs on TV, on social media. And so we can access a lot of information, which is nice for us. We can also connect with some existing nonprofit organizations. We have a lot of resources in our communities, and if you know your community well, and if you have a good network of friends and family, maybe people that go to your church, people that are in your social network, you can work with them, or you can talk with them and find out a lot about resources that are available that you may not know about. So we can help each other there as well. So why does all this matter? This is a question I love to ask in all my classes, no matter what you're learning. Why does this really matter? This matters because caregivers, as you've heard today, commonly sacrifice their own health to care for their loved one. This is what they do. So what I would like to do is to provide some nutritional tips for the caregiver to consider. And these are very basic, and everyone can't do everything at one time, but if you would just consider some of these options, and this might work well for you. Consider the benefits of a vegetarian diet. So, here she goes on that crazy plant life diet. I don't want to just eat broccoli every day, 3 times a day. So that's not what I'm advocating. But there is a lot of literature that really supports a plant-based diet, also known as the vegetarian diet. And we know that the benefits are many. A vegetarian diet, research shows that folks on this diet have a better mood. They typically have lower scores on depression tests. They have a lean figure. They typically weigh less, okay? Their bodies are able to fight disease because their bodies are not taking in the fats and the cholesterols and the ingredients that are contributors to many common chronic diseases. Vegetarian diets are also less toxic. Foodborne illnesses are much more common in meat. They can exist, as we know, when we hear about the E. coli outbreaks in lettuce or in strawberries, but in general, meat tends to be much more of a harbor source for foodborne illnesses. Some folks like to be a vegetarian simply to save the planet, okay? It requires a lot less energy and farmland to be on a plant-based diet. A vegetarian diet also saves money. Plants in general cost less than meat. Some folks like to be on a vegetarian diet because it supports animal rights. Some folks say that vegetarians have a better athletic performance, and there are many world-class athletes that demonstrate this. And then longevity. Vegetarians in general tend to live a longer, higher quality life than folks who are not. Has anyone here ever read the book called The Blue Zones by Dan Buettner? Does that, anyone here? Okay. This is a book that is called The Blue Zones, and this author did research. He studied populations all around the world, and he identified 7 cultures where the average lifespan is much longer than the normal lifespan that we know. People typically live to be in their 90s and in their 100s, and they're healthy. They have high quality of life. And so in this book, he profiles these areas, and he looks at commonalities in their diet. And so I recommend if you enjoy reading, want to read more about that, that's a really good resource. So those are the benefits of a vegetarian diet. You don't have to be on that type of diet to have a healthy diet, but there are many benefits there. You could also be on a vegetarian diet and eat a lot of food that's not good for you. So just because you're on a plant-based diet, you could still, ingest a lot of sugar. You could ingest foods that have a lot of oils and fats added to them. So that brings me to the next tip, and that is basically to beware of controversial ingredients in processed foods. There are a lot of ingredients, like the example of the hamburger buns, that are in those foods to preserve them, make them last longer, perhaps make them taste better to you when you're actually eating them. But you really want to be aware of additives such as artificial sweeteners, refined sugars, monosodium glutamate, artificial colors, which is very common, partially hydrogenated oils, okay, very common. That's what helps to preserve those foods so that they last longer than their natural life would be. There are over 2 billion pounds of pesticides that are added to our food every year. And caffeine. A lot of food that you don't expect to have caffeine actually includes that, and that can be very addictive. So another nutritional tip is to reduce sugar intake. A lot of sugar is in so many foods that you really don't even realize that it's in there. If you stop and read the ingredients and you look at one of the first few items that are listed on the food label, you will see sugar. So if you can swap those sugary cereals for items that have 5 ingredients or less, typically your diet is going to be much better. If you can focus on whole grains and vegetables and fruits, drink water instead of sport drinks and high sugar sodas and juices. A lot of us like to eat ice cream, but you can skip the ice cream and eat sorbet instead. You can eat frozen bananas. You can eat things that are frozen that satisfy that, I think, that urge, that desire to have something cold, and yet it's healthy. And you can exchange your cookies and candies with wholesome snacks and fruits. And so these are just a few of many, many tips. And again, you don't have to do all these things at one time, but if you just are aware and can start making little baby steps toward some of these changes, I think you'll find that you'll have a much healthier diet. It doesn't happen overnight, and it takes work. So for the caregiver, we've seen a little bit of reference, or heard a little bit of reference about meal planning, and so I've got some food preparation tips for caregivers to consider. And these, I think, are very simple, but they're very practical. And the first of these is just simply grocery lists. We've heard several folks today talking about empowering, or having folks do jobs for you, have them go to the grocery store for you, have them help you in different ways. If you can make a grocery list, perhaps a friend can go to the grocery store for you so that you don't have to go. And if you make a list and stick to it, you typically are going to buy foods that are healthier for you than if you just go to the grocery store and you're hungry and the first thing you walk by are the donuts and all the sweets that are right there before you get to the produce in the grocery store. So one tip that I have always found this very helpful is to do your food prep in advance. I know folks that will prepare their entire meals for the week in one day. And so then that way they have their meals set. They can just pull them out of the refrigerator and warm them up. So, but even if it's just something as simple as chopping and preparing to where you're not actually cooking the meal, but you have everything ready. You know how a lot of times it takes as long to actually prepare as it does to actually put it in the pot and then to start cooking it. And so, again, if your friends come over to visit, or if someone asks what they can do to help you, have them help you prep your food. Okay, plan in advance. Keep your meals really simple. I have a good friend that a long time ago I heard her make a comment that if she ever has a recipe and it has more than 5 ingredients and it takes more than 15 minutes, then she's not going to cook it because it takes too long and it has too many ingredients. And I always thought that was kind of funny. But as I've come forward all these, through the years, I see the merit in what she's saying. You don't have to cook really extravagant, time-consuming meals. You can prepare food that is very, very, very quick to prepare, very healthy, very nutritious, very simple, and yet very, very delicious. And so keep your meals simple. There are a lot of online resources, and one particular resource is called Thrive. They have a program called Thrive Gives. The website is here, but if you just Google Thrive Market, you'll find it online. But this is an organization that you can shop online, just like with Amazon or any other online source. They will ship it to you. But the nice thing about Thrive is everything that they have in their arsenal of groceries that are available is organic or just very, very pure, very healthy food. So you can shop online, you can order it, it's delivered to your front door for free. You don't have to go anywhere to pick it up. It comes to you. And the nice thing also about Thrive, this particular site, they do offer memberships, but if you are not able to, if you need the food and you're not able to pay for a membership to belong, then they have a program called Thrive Gives, and you can apply and become a member for free. So basically for every member that's sponsored, then they have free memberships, so you can actually order healthy foods online. It's amazing what else is online that you can order. If you just simply Google meal delivery companies, you'd be surprised at all the services that are out there that will send healthy food to your door. You don't have to actually go anywhere. Some examples, Blue Apron, Sunbasket, HelloFresh, you may have heard of some of these. There are just, it surprised me when I was doing research for this particular presentation, and I just simply Googled meal delivery companies. I came up with a lot of different options, and a lot of these have meals that they're healthy meals. Like I say, they ship to you, and they're available for only maybe $6 or $7 a person, or per meal, I'm sorry. So, which is I think, not bad, a very reasonable price. So, one thing that you have as a takeaway in your packet, again, is this booklet. And Megan, in this booklet, has prepared, there's a lot of great information in here, but I think the best thing is in the back, she has a lot of recipes that you may wish to give a try. These are all plant-based recipes. They're very healthy. They're very easy to prepare. She gives you the shopping list. She gives you everything that you need to actually prepare these meals for, I think, about three weeks. And so I recommend that you check that out, give it a try. They're very tasty, and I hope that you would enjoy. So the takeaway for this section basically is about promoting healthy nutrition to maintain a healthy body. You know, you've got to put quality gas in the engine for it to run and be efficient, and that's what you want to do. So there are a lot of resources in the community, and just start with little steps. You don't have to do just one improvement at a time. Keep your meals very simple. You don't have to be super creative and do a lot of extra work. You can really, I think, simplify more than you know, and then pull on your resources to help you accomplish that. Okay, I think that is this section. So again, take care of yourself, take care of your nutritional needs so you can healthily care for your loved one. And I'm going to turn it back to Tina now. And the timekeeper is saying we are 15 minutes, so we have a little bit more to go. So Tina, I'll just stay here. Yeah, sure.
So in your packet, you should have something that looks like this. It's a white sheet of paper with a lovely wheel on there. And this is the spiritual part. So we're talking about the mind, the body, and the spirit. And this lovely handout gives you the themes of spiritual needs. Spiritual needs. Often when people hear that, thought about spiritual needs, they think that it's religion. Spirituality and religion are two completely different things. Spirituality lives over here, and religion is way over here on the other end. Religion has more to do with how I practice my faith. But spirituality has to do with what makes me have a sense of wholeness, sense of purpose. What helps me feel at peace? Spirituality, very different than religion. So we're going to take a look at some of those. So, and you have this information on your wheel. So the first one, the themes of spiritual needs. These are the things that we need to help us have a sense of spirituality. A need for companionship, the need to finish business. Every single person needs this, no matter who they are, where they are, whether they're caregivers or they're care receivers. Care receivers really need this, the need to finish business. Some people have a need for religion, to reconnect, to reaffirm their faith, the need to experience nature, the need for a positive outlook, the need for involvement and a sense of control. We can give that to every person by simply asking them what they want. So let me ask you this question. If a person has dementia, very advanced dementia, can they still choose? Absolutely. The person who has dementia can still make choices. If I said to someone who had very advanced dementia, would you like a cookie or would you like ice cream? That language might mess them up. But if I showed them ice cream and cookie, and they could tell me which one they wanted, the person can still choose. They need to be involved as long as possible. The need for companionship, very important. Social connectiveness, very important for care receivers and caregivers. The need to be with family, whatever that is, however folks define family. The need to be with friends, to talk with others, to help care for others, to be with children. Very important. The need to finish business, to do a life review, to finish a life task, to come to terms with present situations, to resolve bitter feelings, the need to forgive and be forgiven. And again, religion is just one of those areas on that wheel. So it's not the entire wheel, just one of the areas. The need for religion, the need to pray, to use scriptures, inspirational materials, to use to go to religious services, to participate in religious practices, to sing and to listen. Now, to listen is very important when you're trying to communicate. So the last point I want to tell you about is make sure you know how to speak the language of the person that you are talking to. Not your language, but their language. Every person has a preferred way of giving and receiving information. I talk with my hands, I move around, I have all that going on, but somebody else may have a different way. For example, I might say to my good girlfriend in Texas, tell her, girl, I hear what you're saying. And somebody else might say, Tina, I see what you're saying. My husband might say, Tina, girl, I feel what you're saying. Some people need to feel it. Others need to see it. Some people need to hear it. You have to communicate with the person based on their preferred method, not yours. Thank you.
The need to experience nature is another aspect that is very powerful. The need to look outside, the need to be outside. It may be something as simple as having fresh flowers in the room. I know when I'm outside, and it doesn't have to be a special trip or anywhere, but I think sometimes when you go to locations that are different from your home, if you're on a vacation or a trip or you're in a different setting, I think you really realize the connection that you have with just nature in general when you're in maybe a beautiful forest, or if you're hiking in the mountains, or if you're driving along and you just see a very pretty pasture. I know the drive from Savannah to here yesterday, once my husband and I got off of I-16 and we were cutting through, and we came through, I think, Hawkinsville and several other little small towns. It was beautiful. And so I think the need to experience nature when you see nature is very powerful. The need for a positive outlook, to see the smiles of others. I think nothing will pick someone up better than if the person they're talking to has a smile. If you're greeted by someone that has a smile on their face, I think it automatically is going to brighten your spirit. And vice versa, if you have a smile on your face, I think it really helps to enlighten those around you. And to laugh. Laughter is very powerful and very therapeutic, I think. To think happy thoughts and to take one day at a time. I think sometimes we get caught up, we think so far down the road. Just stop and enjoy the moment. Just really, really stop and enjoy what's going on at the moment and have that positive outlook. We have a need for involvement and control, to have input into your own life. We've talked a lot about, at what point do the folks that caregivers care for, at what point do the caregivers take over? And so it's important to have input into your own life now, and as long as you're able to. And so that's very, very important to be involved, to have information about your own care and to stay as independent as possible. I think someone mentioned earlier today about maybe taking that power, a little bit of authority away from someone before they're a little bit early, before they're really ready to relinquish it or they need to relinquish it. So stay as independent as possible and have things in life stay the same as long as they can. So this is a summary of all of these spiritual needs. I think Tina actually created this. This is her product, and so I applaud her for putting all this together. I think that it does a fantastic job identifying spiritual needs and the complete self-care of the spirit. And as she said, it's not just religion, it's not just any one of these aspects, it's all of this together. And each of us has different combinations of these aspects, and so this is what makes us all unique. Anything to wrap up with here, Tina?
I think we've got enough time for a couple of questions. No hard questions.
Great presentation.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Sure.
That's for you all. All right. Our question is, can you speak about food value and preparation of tofu?
I have to tell you this. This is on. I have to tell you a funny story. A couple of years ago, I think it's been a couple of years, I was in Sam's shopping. Anyone here shop at Sam's? Okay, so I actually was on the list was tofu, and so I asked the lady in the back of the meat section and where all the refrigerated the dairy and all that. I asked her if they had tofu and she could show me where it was, and she looked at me and she said, I don't know what that is, so I don't think we have it. And so it was something that I guess I don't know, it was just she had never even heard of it. So I'm glad that tofu has recognition, and tofu is being heard, and it is a very good source of protein. I know that it does have, I think, some properties, some hormonal properties that you wouldn't want to eat it every day, but it is a very good source of protein. And I think commonly when you go to, especially a restaurant that might specialize in Asian cuisine in particular, that typically is one of the choices for, if you don't want meat, they'll offer tofu. So it is I think it's a very good source of protein, especially for someone on a plant-based diet. So, okay.
Okay, we have time for one more question. Meal delivery companies like Blue Apron, do they deliver to rural areas like Americas?
Yes, they will. Does the mail come to Americas? then yes, yes. So yes, as long as you have a mailing address, they will deliver to you. So. All right.
Well, thank you all for
thank
coming
you.
in.
You've been a very good audience.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right. It is now time for a 15-minute afternoon break. Please enjoy some light refreshments in the lobby.